reach a childhood dream. We think, okay, when I get there, then I will be able to feel the way I want to feel, right? Is anybody in here can relate to that, right? Well, in my own life, I lived a life very outwardly focused, okay? Very much so a goal setter, always striving, competitive, collegiate football athlete. I was a collegiate football coach for 12 years. We won the national championship, and I remember being on the field, arms up over my head, reaching this childhood dream, feeling like this is what I've come here to do. And not a moment later, my mind says, we gotta do it again. And I realized that even in that moment, it was not a sense of celebration. I was not celebrating the fact that I had reached this pivotal moment in my life. I was actually going, whew, I did it. I can feel worthy. I can feel good enough. All of this wasn't for nothing, right? And so to understand that no matter how much we achieve, no matter how much accomplishment and or acknowledgement from other people in the world, there will never be a sense of freedom unless we find it internally, right? Unless we learn how to let go, how to love ourselves, how to absolutely surrender. And we're going to talk about the actual process of surrendering. I'm going to do a little program or a little presentation here that usually takes me about an hour and about 20 minutes. So I'll give you a few things we skip over a little bit, but I'm going to try to introduce it to you, and we're going to try to build what I call the model of letting go. We're going to try to understand, like, how do we actually do this? How does this make sense to me? And what is the practice behind it? So I'm a bit of a yogi. And so I always look at everything that no matter what I'm taking on in life, there has to be some sort of a practice to back it up. There needs to be some sort of a seated practice, meaning that a way that I'm going to start my day in a form of meditation, right? To be able to set myself up, to be able to traverse the day moment by moment and actually let go. So I'm going to actually lay that foundation in my seated position. And then what is the actual practice as I'm navigating my life to find more freedom? And in my own experience, I left my coaching career in a place where I was constantly trying to change everything, and everything that I changed, just in my opinion, made it feel like it was worse. And I had put my marriage in a place where it was failing. My family I was about to lose. Even though everything on the outside looking in looked perfect, it was completely falling apart. So no matter what I changed. So this led me to this path, and I found mentors and processes and breath work and yoga and read the book Untethered Soul and Letting Go by David Hawkins, and I started to really say, I want to understand what this idea of letting go or surrender really, really means. I want to absolutely be able to practice this and then be able to share it. And as I started to kind of cultivate this idea of letting go and practice it, it gave me a sense of freedom. I realized that the world does not have to be a certain way for me to be okay. I stopped trying to change the people, either the actual people in my life or who they were being so they could fit my stuff. I began to look inward to let go of whatever that was keeping me from the experience that I wanted to have, right? And so there's a two-part process that we're going to talk about. The first part is letting go. We have to be able to understand, first of all, what is it that we're letting go of to find freedom? This is just a small list. We can go on for days. We're going to let go of what other people think, the past, the future, this need to be right, any sort of limiting belief, like I am stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, right? Expectations are huge. When we set expectations, we're actually setting the stage for suffering, right? So expectations that we have for ourselves and for others. I love this one, preferences. Preferences are huge. We find that these preferences, they build up throughout our day, they build up throughout our life. And when I was really starting to dive into this idea of surrender and letting go, we were on vacation in Hawaii as a family. My family, my brother's family, my parents, we all had this house we rented, and so I'm on the pool side at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, this is going to be a wonderful week, get to spend time with family. I'm going to get a chance to do my yoga practice, my meditation, read my book by the pool. 6 o'clock rolls around, here comes all the kids running out of the room, jumping in the pool. I'm like, it's 6! Kids at least get to like 7 o'clock in the morning to have my peace and my time, and I recognized very quickly that I wanted that present moment to be different than it was. And it caused a sense of suffering. Oh, they shouldn't be in the pool right now. And so-and-so shouldn't be doing this, and I recognize, well, I'm going to cause suffering for myself and for others unless I let go right now of what I prefer. Right? I prefer my coffee to be a certain way. I prefer this person not to follow me so close in traffic. I prefer for that light to stay green. Right? Because now I look at it, when the light turns yellow and I pull up to it and it's going to stay red, I'm like, hey, cool, this is the chance for me to let go. I get to practice. So I recognize it very quickly. On this vacation, I'm going to let go. Every single time that the present moment is asking me to be different than I want it to be, I'm going to let go and just do whatever it's asking of me. So when my kid, who was at the time was 6 years old, says, Dad, you want to swim in the pool with me? I said, sure I do. Even though there wasn't a bone in my body that wanted to jump in that pool at 6:15. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to sit here and read my book. I want to look at the view. I want to enjoy the ocean. There's so many things I want to do besides jump in that pool. But I did every single time throughout the week. And I found myself connecting with my children, with my wife, with my parents, with my brothers in a way that I never thought possible in this week's span of time. I didn't tell anybody about it. I was just practicing. At the end of the week, we're sitting on the beach, and my wife says to me, Ryan, you look like a man that has zero preferences. I started to chuckle. I'm like, you look like you're completely free. And it absolutely dawned on me, like, this is a moment-by-moment practice of letting go of our preferences, our judgments, our doubts, our fears, what people think of us. What are people going to think, right? Even to a certain degree of, like, what we're thinking, like letting all these things go. So we're going to talk about some basic universal principle to build this model, okay? The first part of it is the law of vibration. Everything in this world is energy. Can we agree, right? We're energy. There's energy surrounding us. This platform, everything is energy. It's just a difference of quality and kind, right? The frequency and or the vibration, how fast it's actually vibrating determines whether something is matter, how dense that matter is, right? Does that make sense? So even to a degree, and I love being able to have this conversation with this group because I have this conversation with other people and it's like, what are you talking about? So it makes it easy in here. I'm like, I'm not going to have to spend much time on this slide, so that's good. The next piece is understanding like attracts like, right? So the frequency and or the vibration that I'm resonating at will then therefore be what I am attracting as an experience into my life, the people into my life, the outcomes, and certain things. So whatever I'm currently experiencing and or thinking about myself or feeling about myself and the vibration that I am experiencing is going to be what my world is going to then evolve into. Whether my four walls of my home or the community and or the experience I have of running my companies or whatever that looks like, right? So we're going to experience this by sending and receiving emotions, and these emotions are going to cause this vibration, right? When we feel a denser, darker, lower vibration emotion, that's going to create something there that we're going to be attracting more into our lives. Because energy in motion is emotion, right? Everybody's heard that before, okay? So good. I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. The next piece is the law of polarity. So that's the law of vibration, right? Universal principle. You can count on it every single time. The law of polarity states that there has to be two opposites for anything to actually exist. Right? They have to coexist. For there to be courage, there has to be fear. For there to be up, there has to be down. For there to be right, there has to be left. For there to be cold, there has to be hot. For there to be big, there has to be small. Right? For there to be doubt, faith is then created. Right? We would not have faith if it wasn't for doubt. Right? We would not have choice without addiction. We would not have creators in our life without there being victims. There is no way that we can experience being open without experiencing being closed. Right? We would not understand or feel what abundance feels like without understanding what lack feels like. So no different than guilt and joy and apathy, just having absolutely no regard for life and complete passion for life. So these opposites exist, and this transformed my life. When I learned the law of polarity, I said, oh my goodness, not only do they have to coexist, but they're existing at the exact same time. That means they're both available at any one time. That means when I am in a place of depression and anxiety, feeling guilt and fear and doubt, that means that joy, peace, and love is available at the exact same time. It has to be true. It's the universal principle. So then, therefore, how do I get there? How do I actually traverse? This is called the scale of emotions. It's tough to see. But if you look into David Hawkins' work, he talks about the scale of emotions. On the very bottom is shame, 20. Right? guilt, apathy, these are very low vibrations. You move up to what's called neutral. Neutrality is 250. So actually courage is still taking more energy than we are actually accumulating within our body. It takes more energy to be courageous, right? So we're expending energy. So you look above that, it becomes willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. When we move above into willingness and acceptance, love, peace, and joy, we're now accumulating energy, right? So how do we move up this scale of emotions? And understanding as well as that if everything is energy, and emotions is energy in motion, right? Then, therefore, if the lower the vibration, the slower the energy is moving, the more matter it becomes, the more identified and attached we become to it. The more it becomes real in our minds and in our experience. Therefore, we may attach and identify more to desire, to anger, to pride, to guilt, to grief, right? Those become more real to us because they're lower vibrations based upon the scale of emotions. Therefore, they become more like matter. It becomes darker. I know I've experienced when I was in a deep, dark place of depression. There's no way out. It's a dark room. There's no windows. It feels so real that you cannot see into the next moment. I know what that feels like, right? So understanding that we create more story. Our mind creates more story, more attachments, and more identifications about these lower vibrations. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. So, with that being said, we understand that attachment and identification and expectations, these things is leading to our suffering. So these are the main things we want to be able to learn and let go. As a yogi, we understand, we want to be able to practice non-attachment, right? The more we become less attached to something, the more free we become. And this is a conversation and a practice that can go on for hours, right? We could go back and forth on this for hours. But this is what came to me. I'm sitting on a plane in January, flying back from a weekend in Miami with a friend of mine who was showing me a world that I had no idea existed, okay? Because he wanted to expand what I thought was possible. So he brought me down to Miami and just absolutely everything was taken care of and limos, all these things. And I'm sitting there going, my mind was blown of what is possible in this world. And so I'm sitting on the plane, I'm flying home, and all of a sudden I just got this download all at once of what was I called this natural state of the mind or the model of surrendering, what we're going to actually experience when we begin to let go. So if you look at the red line that drops below this neutral line, right? This is where we become more attached and identified with what we're experiencing. This is what I call the non-serving ego. This is where the voice becomes much stronger. The I told you so. So I told you, you're not good enough. You're not lovable. Why are you even trying? Right? Those types of voices, I know we all have that fear-based voice, right? When that starts to happen, we become identified and attached to that story. This is our opportunity to begin to this practice of letting go and surrendering. And understanding and we're not going to dive real far into the observer effect, but we've all heard about the observer effect, right? In this room, understanding that what you look at actually by looking at the thing, it changes, right? Because we actually observe something, therefore the thing of it changes. Like it only becomes matter because we're looking at it. Is that chair even there? I mean, that whole conversation, right? Therefore, when I begin to look at what I'm experiencing from this observer perspective, I start to witness it. I can sit behind it. I start to remove and create space between what I'm experiencing. Therefore, the thing that I'm experiencing changes. I begin to detach myself from that story. I begin to absolutely let go of the fact that I'm afraid, that I'm experiencing grief and guilt and doubt and fear, right? Rather than attaching more to it and feeding to the story. Okay? So if I let go and I observe it, then I can practice what I call the 3 A's. And we're going to practice this here in a moment. The 3 A's, number 1 is bringing my full attention to the present moment. Not trying to be anywhere else or change anything about the present moment. I don't need it to be different for me to be okay. I'm going to look at it fully. I'm going to have the courage to look into my shadow, to look into the closet and say, what's really going on? Why is it there? Full attention, right? The second A is complete acceptance, right? And I'm going to talk about this a bit. The complete acceptance means no judgment. Whatever I'm experiencing internally, I'm not going to create a story around it. I'm not going to judge myself for it. I'm going to love myself fully and accept whatever is there. Whatever emotions wanting to pass through my body. Think about this. Thoughts and emotions is stress wanting to leave your body. Okay? So thoughts and emotions and stress wanting to leave your body. What keeps it from actually leaving your body? It's you. It's your suppression. It's your mind telling you a story. It's you trying to bottle it up so it doesn't get touched. It's you trying to be okay and make your world smaller and make sure that everything in your world fits a certain way so it doesn't touch it. Right? This is me expecting that my wife has to be a certain way for me to be okay. Why is she doing this? Why is she acting that way? And when we begin to let go, they can be however they are, and it's going to pass right through me. Okay? So the third piece is allowance. I'm not going to try to change it. This is called non-resistance. This is the hardest part. We completely allow for whatever experience to flow through us. David Hawkins says, if we completely get ourselves out of the way, that even the deepest experience of grief will only take 90 seconds to pass through us. I mean, think about what's possible. If we completely do not try to resist it, we're not bottling it, we're not suppressing it, we're not repressing it, and we just let it pass all the way through us, right? It's going to transmute into something different. It's going to then weaken. The story is going to weaken. And what's going to naturally happen? It's like if you're underwater and you're holding on to weights. When you let go of that weight, what do you naturally begin to do? You start to transcend, you start to evolve, you start to actually float back up to the surface, up to a neutral place. Well, this is what's possible when we let go. It's like letting go of weight. You start to float. You start to transcend. You start to work your way back up this emotional scale. So when you let go of grief and fear, you then come into a place of anger, eventually pride, and then courage. And you actually surrender your way up this scale of emotions. Eventually, you surrender your way up to willingness and acceptance and reason and love and joy. But then something happens. Because the natural state of the mind is a place of complete stillness, complete wonder, a childlike sense of wonder where we're completely open and curious. Like each moment is completely fresh and new. We've never been here before. Right? So what happens? When we start to get to this place, it's the unknown. And the unknown can be uncomfortable. Right? It can be a bit scary, especially to our non-serving ego that says, you guys ever heard of the crab theory? Mm-hmm. You put a bunch of crabs into a bucket. If one of the crabs starts to actually claw its way out of the buckets, the rest of the crabs will pull it back down. Basically, this mentality that human beings also carry is that if you can't have it, neither can I. Right? And so we know about the fact of shadow work and doing the cue process that there's parts of us that are fragmented. There's parts of us that are scared. There's parts of us that are wounded, right? And so when we start to experience this open and freedom and joy and peace and a sense of wonder, there's a part of us that says, this is scary. Get back down here. Right? So we get the crab theory. It happens. It pulls us back down because the moment we begin to step out and to be courageous in the world and start to be open and curious and have a sense of wonder, we start to maybe step out into a new experience of life, a new business, writing a book, a different relationship, whatever it may be. The mind's going to say, you're not good enough. What are you doing? I told you you can't do that. And it's actually going to cause resistance. Internal resistance, which is the voice, and it may even show up as external resistance. Something's going to happen in your life that's actually going to cause resistance from the thing that you want to experience the most. This is another opportunity for us then, as this crab theory happens, and we're in this unknown place. Again, I'm using the word unknown, not comfort zone. Because when I'm down here in apathy, grief, fear, in this lower vibrations, it's not comfortable. It's known. I know what it feels like. We've all been there. But I wouldn't call it comfortable. Right? My goal is to be in the unknown. In the unknown, I get to decide who I want to be. In the unknown, I get to make it up as I go. In the unknown, anything's possible. This is when we start to tap into the quantum field. We have to step into a place where we get to decide who it is we want to be, who we've come here to be, and how we want to experience the world. You ever ask yourself that question? How do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? Right? If I get to decide that, what does that look like for me? So as we begin to do this process of letting go, we start to be in this unknown, unfamiliar place. We get to start to ask this open question of saying, who am I? Well, then the ego doesn't like that because it wants to stay in this story, in this box of this known experience, this uncomfortable, even though it's uncomfortable, it's known, right? So it pulls you back down. The crab theory happens. It causes confusion. It causes irritability. It justifies. See, I told you you're not good enough. What are you trying to do? Step out there in the unknown. Get back over here, right? Well, notice how the second line here is shorter than the first one. Why? Because we recognize it. We're strengthening this awareness. We're strengthening this muscle, and we're strengthening the practice of being able to let go. So what's another opportunity? When that happens, we expect it. It's going to happen. We let go again. And when we let go again, we begin to, again, the same thing happens. We begin to evolve. We begin to transcend. We begin to be able to ask ourselves that question. And what are the tools? What are the tools that keep us above that line? Number one, it's the meditations, it's the yoga practice, it's the movement, it's the spending time in community, it's spending time with friends, it's reading a good book, it's dancing, it's singing, right? At the end of the day, the thing that keeps us above that line is following your passions. Following your passions in life. What lights you up? What actually brings you life, right? That's what's going to keep you above that line. Because here's the thing that I believe is possible. And I know this because I'm experiencing it right now in my life. Like, this is real moment stuff. I wrote this in January, and I'm here talking about it today. And I've done multiple speeches about this, and I'm writing a book about it as we speak. What I believe is possible is very short and moment by moment dips where we potentially may dip below that line, and we recognize it sooner and sooner. We recognize that, oh, I'm having to use courage right now to keep fighting today, right? Or I'm experiencing a little bit of fear, right? But we don't allow ourselves to get down to anger and desire and fear and grief because we recognize it sooner and sooner. And we then are being able to operate ourselves from a place of abundance. There's this, what I call the operating origin. Every single thing that we do is to feel something or to avoid feeling something. Every single thing that we do, we're coming from a place of lack. Therefore, we want to try to achieve something, accomplish something, get some sort of approval or acknowledgement from our world to say, yes, we're good enough. Or we're coming from a place of abundance, of complete worthiness and love, saying, this is what I then deserve because of my worthiness, because of my absolute connection with God. Because when we begin to understand what is possible, the only thing that we know to be true is unity, is not separation. Below this line is separation. Above the line is oneness, is wholeness, is purity, is love, right? So what's possible is we start to recognize when we are bouncing off that line. We recognize our energy drop. We recognize it when we're confused, or we're irritable. We recognize the symptoms of the fact that we need to let go, that we're trying to control, that we're trying to do it ourselves, that we think we know better than God does, that we're trying to have our own plan. We're trying to force something, rather than understanding that what's possible is to bounce off that neutral line and then bounce right back up again and just experience more joy and love and peace and freedom. Because that's what we're all truly after. And spending more and more time above that line. More and more time to where now the unknown becomes comfortable. The unknown is the only place you want to live because you spent so much time in it. And right now, my head is vibrating because I love this conversation about the more time I spend not knowing what's coming next, I then get surprised by the divine. I leave space for the divine to bless me, to surprise me. Because I'm spending more time above the line. So we're following our passions, we're using these practices, but the practices are not the answer. It's so simple. So now when I let go, the first part of that process is I let go. I am liberating energy, right? When I let go of something, that emotion is no longer stuck in my energetic system, right? I'm letting it pass through me. And I'm going to go back and one more time. I want to understand something. We let go, we liberate energy so we can live fully. The hardest part of this model, you guys, is not letting go when we're recognizing the fact that we're attached and identified with these lower vibrations. The hardest part to let go of is when we're experiencing complete love, joy, and peace. That becomes the hardest part. And that's what right now I'm navigating more than anything, is understanding like I experience these insane, intense moments of complete love and peace and joy. And I want to hold on to them. I want to cherish them. I want them to last. But it's me trying to create some sort of control around these experiences and they're gone. They're gone. So the hardest part becomes when we start to traverse this experience of surrendering and letting go, is even when we are in the unknown, experiencing love, experiencing joy, experiencing peace, experiencing freedom, let go and let that pass through you as well. Because when we do, when we let that pass through us, we're not trapped in it. Therefore, we are giving ourselves more likelihood to experience that again in the future and for it to last even longer. And to share it with our world. Share it with our family, share it with our community, share it with our business, share it with anybody around us. Because it's not just for us. We become this conduit where we get to then spread it with the people we love the most. So we let go, we liberate energy so we can fully live our life. I'm going to pass some of those. Again, the 3 A's, I have no idea what time it is. How much time am I going? I'm probably over, huh? The 3 A's, bringing full attention to the present moment. I'm going as fast as I can, Amber. I'm sorry. Okay. I can't go any faster. Stay in the zone. Stay in the zone. Okay, stay in the zone. Okay, yeah. Full attention to the present moment. Complete acceptance, right? With no judgment. Complete allowance. Not needing the moment to be any different than it is. Do not resist it, right? So we're going to do a practice, because here I told you it's a 2-part process. So what's the second part, you're wondering, right? Before I tell you that, this is my definition of emotional intelligence: to fully feel in one moment. To allow yourself to fully feel in one moment and shift your vibration in the next. So that leads us into part 2. Part 2 is your God-given right, is to feel and experience the world however you desire, however you want to. Which means that if I want to experience more sense of gratitude, appreciation, love, and joy, the moment I let go, I'm creating space, I'm liberating energy. So therefore, in the next moment, I get to decide what I want to experience more of. Right? Does that make sense? And whatever it is that actually creates that experience, there might be visuals, there might be thinking of past memories, there might be people who bring that into your life. But the goal is to be able to experience it regardless of any sort of external circumstance. That you can draw up that sense of love and joy and peace independent of an external circumstance. And I've heard meditation actually defined that way, to be able to cultivate a sense of peace and stillness and joy independent of my external world. That's our God-given right. So we practice it. We practice it in meditation, and we practice it throughout the day, and we start by doing it by letting go of the paper cuts, the smallest little things. When somebody cuts you off in traffic, let it go. When you hit the red light and then another red light, let it go. When the dishes aren't done or the kids are being too loud, let it go. When things aren't perfect and you aren't perfect, let it go. And these little tiny things, and you start to liberate energy. And it becomes easier, it becomes a practice, and then you start to be able to let go of bigger things. Eventually, you are able to live a life of complete freedom. So we're going to go into a meditation. I'm going to lead it. Can I move the chair over?
Yeah, please.
And we're going to practice this very thing of letting go. I'm going to walk you through, basically, with every time that we take an inhale, we're going to draw our attention into our body. We're going to then allow for whatever to be there without judgment, complete acceptance, and let it pass through you on every exhale. And you're going to let it go. We're going to create a bit of space, and then we're going to draw in a heart coherence practice. Be able to cultivate whatever it is you want. I'm going to use appreciation because that's the easy thing to do for our heart, right? But if there is a sense that you want to experience more love in your life, more joy in your life, more peace in your life, take this experience and make it your own. Okay? Beautiful. So let's sit up straight. Let's close our eyes if you're comfortable. Otherwise, soften your gaze. And just become aware of your breath. Breathe smooth. Breathe light. Breathe easy. This is a natural process. And we're just going to take it as it comes. We're going to actually do a breathing pattern together. We're going to do a pattern where we'll exhale together, and then I'll take you through a 4-second inhale with a 4-second hold and an 8-second exhale. We're lengthening the exhale. So when we lengthen that exhale, we're going to say to ourselves, let it go. So with every inhale, our attention draws into our body. When we hold our breath, we're practicing that complete acceptance, complete allowance. And on the exhale, we let it go. Okay, so let's exhale together. 3, 2, 1. Fully exhale. Yeah. Inhale for 4, Draw your attention into your body. Let it land wherever it may. Hold your breath in a complete acceptance. Maybe it's in your heart, in your gut. And now let it go. Exhale. Actually say to yourself, let it go. Okay, let's do it again. Inhale. Draw your attention into your body. Full presence. Hold. You don't need to be anywhere else for you to be okay. Complete acceptance. Exhale, let it go. Say to yourself, let it go. We're creating space. Beautiful. Inhale for 4. Maybe your attention goes to the same spot every time. That's okay. Hold. Maybe it's someplace different every single time. That's okay. Exhale. Let it go. This is natural. This is easy. Just take it as it comes. Inhale for 4. And a hold. Complete acceptance. You do not need to judge it. Exhale. Now we're going to inhale for 4. Draw that attention into your body. Hold. Complete acceptance. Complete allowance. And you exhale. Visualize smoke exiting out through your nose. Whatever it is there, let it go. Whatever comes up. You may want to smile. Inhale. It might be tears. Don't resist it. Hold. You're making space for what you want to experience. Exhale. Beautiful. Inhale for 4. It's our last round. Hold. Exhale for me. I want you to return to a normal breath pattern. The goal is a 5-second inhale with a 5-second exhale. And I want you to draw your attention into the space that occupies your heart. Put your full attention in your heart space. With every inhale, I want you to visualize you breathing into this space that occupies your heart. Breathing into your chest, breathing into your heart. With every exhale, the breath is exiting out through this space around your heart. Continue to breathe in for 5. Breathe out for 5. And your next inhale, I want you to draw in somebody, a memory, an experience, a place that gives you a deep sense of appreciation. A sense of joy, peace, love. Every exhale, you're going to let that go and pass through you. You don't need to hold on to it. So continue to breathe on every inhale into that space that occupies your heart. And as you do so, draw in this image that helps you feel this sense of open, curious sense of wonder, love, joy, and peace. Then exhale, you're going to let it go, pass through you, pass all the way through you. Again, inhale, drawing this into your body. See if you can charge it. Experience it fully. Don't just think about it, but fully allow for your body to experience it. What does it feel like? Your body is expanding in 360 degrees. Maybe it feels warm. Maybe there's a tingling sensation. Maybe there's a desire to crack a small smile. Don't resist it. Charge it. This is doing the work. Teaching your body how to feel what you want to experience. Continue to draw the breath into your heart space. There it is. What gives you that deep sense of appreciation, love, joy, and peace? And let it go. On the next breath, I want you to draw that experience into your heart, but drop the image. You don't need this image to cultivate this sense of appreciation, of joy, of peace, of love. This is the truth of you. Let it pass through your entire body. See if every inhale you can charge it a little bit more, experience it a little bit deeper. Does it have a color? Is there a sense of light? What does it look like? Can you explain it to me? And exhale, let it go. Let it spread through your body. It's originating in your heart space and spreading out through your torso, into your hips, down your legs, into your feet, down your arms, into your fingertips. It's expanding around you in 360 degrees, and you begin to share it with the people next to you, with your community, with your loved ones. We're bringing everybody together by doing this work, by letting go, and then deciding what we want to experience. Continue to breathe into your heart, building this experience, charging the feeling. On your next inhale, just draw your attention back to your breath. Notice your breath is lighter, is smoother, is more rhythmic. And notice this experience is available to you in any moment, in every moment. It is your God-given right to experience what is possible by letting go and deciding who it is you've come here to be. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for your time today and allowing for me to share this